Hello, and depending on where you are, welcome to the first maybe-ish week of school. Here in Maryland, most of our counties and jurisdictions and schools are starting back up this week. Yesterday, today, I know some colleagues and classmates from college and seminary. I've seen their kids go back a little bit earlier. Maybe some are still coming later. So I just wanted to just post a couple thoughts on transitions as we get back to school, whether or not you or a young person in your life is going back to school. This season, going from summer into fall, marks a transition for many of us. For those of us in the church, uh, the rhythm of the school year often determines our program calendar. That doesn't look the same for every church. Every church doesn't do the same thing in the summer or slow down in the same way. But there's something about the rhythm of summer that is a little bit different. Maybe, like me, your job has gone through some change. I've got the same job, but we've had a district realignment. Maybe there's some other kind of transition that you are navigating in your life. Perhaps it's the loss of a loved one, or just the changes that come as routines come and go. My husband, Chris, is a director of retreat and camping ministry. He has a lot of experience working with young people. And one of the things that he often will be very sensitive to, especially working with children and youth, but also working with adults, is the impact of transitions. I've heard him say to others, and he and I have discussed that transitions are the times when stuff goes sideways, when things go wrong at camp or something happens. The vast majority of time, it's in a time of transition. And so at camp, that might look like campers moving from one activity to another. It's the unstructured time, the time that it takes to go from one thing to another. The same thing is true in our lives. When we're going through times of transition, if they're good, if they're bad, and many transitions are actually a mix of all of those, transitions bring a particular kind of emotional, mental requirement of energy. I know that in scripture, we see the ways that God and God's people approach transitions intentionally. One of the ways that that shows up powerfully as I read scripture is the way in which, when throughout the Old Testament in particular, whenever God's people, whether as individuals or as a group, were standing on the edge of something new, they were at a time of transition. Scripture inevitably, in almost every single instance where that's the case, includes words something like words from God. Remember, I am the Lord your God who. Remember, I am the Lord your God who brought you out of slavery in Egypt. Those times of transitions are important times, not only because they lead us into something new, and we indeed worship a God who is always doing a new thing, but because transitions are challenging. So, as you navigate whatever transition, it may not feel even so much like a change, but a transition. Whatever transition you are navigating, may you be reminded that the God that has brought you this far will carry you through. May you be gracious with yourself and with others. Be gracious with the young people in your lives, that are in your community. Know that even if they're really excited to start school, it takes a lot of energy to do a new thing, even if they were returning to the very same teacher and the very same class as they're coming off the summer and returning to those new routines. If you find yourself struggling to transition into new habits that you want to pick up, maybe habits of eating healthier, exercising, if your job is changing, if your schedule is changing, whatever it is that is in a time of transition, be reminded that these are challenging times, but that on the other side of that transition, God's people, we ourselves, have always found God to be faithful. And in the midst of it, it's helpful to remind each other and to be reminded ourselves to take a deep breath, to go slow, again, to be gracious with ourselves and others. And remember that transitions take some time and energy, but we will get there. And so watch out for school buses. You've seen, I know in our county, we've got signs all over. Watch out for school buses. Watch out for kids in your own life. Be mindful of the signs of changing times and be gracious with yourself and others as you adjust, remembering that the God who has been with you to this day will be with you in this transition.